You're watching the Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, weight loss, how to jumpstart your metabolism. With us, we have an expert on the topic, specializing in a variety of health issues. He is a naturopathic physician, Dr. Pare.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming on the program. And I have your name right. Now, naturopathic physician, okay? And you can prescribe medications under a doctor, if a doctor's there.
Right, depending on which state and which licensure a naturopathic doctor has determines their scope of practice.
Okay, good. And we always, I've been told by another naturopathic physician, he says, there's real ones and then there's not so real ones. You know, there's only like 4 or 5, I guess. You go to a real medical school.
Right.
Tell me about that. Let's talk a little bit about your training and then we'll jump right into weight loss.
Okay, well, naturopathic physicians attend a 4-year graduate program, and there are 4 or 5 schools licensed in the United States, and there are a few in Canada as well. And it is a grueling program, 2 years of the basic sciences like all doctors have to go through. And then the difference comes with the training clinically, whereas you will focus more on prevention medicine, nutrition, exercise, supplements, rather than medications.
Okay, good. So weight loss, let's jump right in. So tell me a little bit about your practice and what's your approach and philosophy with weight loss.
Okay, my philosophy of weight loss is that we all have to, from the beginning of life really, become very comfortable with food, because it's something we do every day. And if we don't have a healthy relationship with food or develop one, and maybe be mindful of our relationship with food, it will eventually cause some kind of ailment in us, one way or the other.
Okay. So do you believe that most ailments then, most problems are caused by weight gain?
I would not go that far, except I would say that if a person is able to maintain their weight, their ailments would either get better or they would be less troublesome for them, and many times they will go away.
Okay, now what about you though? You know, I always, my one complaint, I don't get mad in traffic or things don't bother me, but when these thin doctors, I'm going to group you in there, maybe I'm jealous, you know, they're giving us weight loss advice, and they've never had a weight problem. What about you?
I have had weight issues my whole life.
Oh really?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And I played ice hockey when I was very young, and that kept me very fit. But as a child growing up, I was nicknamed Pudge, and rightly so. And I did not eat properly. My mother loved me, but she did not feed me properly in terms of having too many sweets around. And my whole family from the beginning has battled their weight. And I have always become interested in what actually motivates a person to go to the next level in terms of making that health a priority.
So who is your typical patient that comes in for weight loss?
Well, I've been focusing on men's health for the last couple of years, and I would say that of the, I would say the great majority of the men that I deal with are either overweight or in many cases obese. And that has a direct connection with their erectile function in some cases, and diabetes is rampant in that population. Also, as a high school teacher for many, many years, I would see my high school students just be gaining weight and improperly choosing the wrong drinks, which I think is basically the easiest way for most people to start. And I would start with most of my patients with the liquids that they consume.
Okay.
And that really helps a lot of them get on board. And then once you can change their behavior with liquids, then you can move to foods.
Is that right? Okay, so then tell me if somebody said, okay, well, what's your approach then to weight loss? You know, I mean, what's the secret as you see it? I mean, somebody goes to you, they're in their 40s, they packed on 50 pounds, 40 pounds. What do you do that's different? Or maybe you don't.
Well, I would say that I would give them tenderness and loving and caring around that issue, because I think all people will gain weight because it's something that they have not been conscious of. And life steps in, with all of us. And basically, whether it's emotional, physical, social, psychological, there's some issue that's out of balance in the person. And naturopathic doctors get trained to identify the obstacles to healing.
Okay. So what are those then?
That is very individual. That your obstacles may be similar to mine, but not identical. And that has to do with our upbringing. That has to do with who our colleagues are, what we choose to do for work. And you have to identify those, and it takes time. The average doctor does not have enough time to get that personal with their patients. And unfortunately, for weight loss, I feel you do need to make that connection. And the person has to know that you care about them, and you're going to be there in a way that they need. And maybe the way I could follow up, more importantly, is every person needs to identify what it is that would work for them. And that is very individual, and that person has to have a choice.
Okay.
Or several choices.
Okay, so on your program, if somebody said, well, what's your philosophy? Are you low carb? Are you vegan? What is your approach?
My philosophy. My approach or philosophy is
calorie
whatever
restriction?
works. Nope. I feel that you have to match what will actually get the job done with each and every patient. So for some, that might be some calorie restriction. For some, it might be increased exercise. For some, it might be just beginnings of any kind of movement. For some, it might be instead of a whole pizza, 3/4 of a pizza at one sitting. For some, it might be putting 1 ounce of water in their 2% milk. Little incremental steps go a long way, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is something I should mention, but I did watch Dr. Hyman this morning, your interview with Dr. Hyman. And the reason
That's Mark Hyman, yeah, well-known guy, PBS special.
Right, and he is right on target. He has it all together, in my opinion. And the only thing that I would add would be, he mentioned personalization, and that's very, very key to each and every patient. But what personalization means for one is not so much another. And he was mentioning that sometimes people just need to have all of these things done at once and pulled away, whether it's medicines, whether it's the food they're eating. And that might work for some. I don't think it's going to work for all. In my clinical experience.
What kind of results are you getting in your practice? Weight loss.
I've seen the HCG diet work quite often, but not for everybody. People lose 15, 20, 25 pounds in a matter of 1 month. And then it's the follow-up. That is the key, the follow-up. Most of the HCG patients I've dealt with, they'll gain the weight back, and then some. So if they're on the second or third round of the HCG and it has worked for them, then they're beginning to understand it's the follow-ups that's the key. HCG is not a lifestyle. You've got to get at the lifestyle of each and every patient so you can change their behaviors in a way that works for them, in a model that works for them, taking into consideration their job, their free time, their obstacles, and whatever it is that's preventing them, the excuses that we all have, you have to work around those and work with them, but yet not make the person feel judged and or belittled in any way.
Okay, and so your weight loss program, when somebody goes to you on day one, what's that look like? What's the whole process look like?
I would sit down with them probably for a 2-hour to 2.5-hour intake. Sometimes it could be done in an hour and a half, but 2 hours is more comfortable.
Okay.
And so they know up front they're going to be there for a while. We look at all their medicines, all their supplements. I would ask them, what are their goals? Do you want to lose just a few pounds because of a wedding coming up? Do you actually want to change your life? Do you want to actually not struggle as much anymore? Do you want to go through the rest of your life counting calories? Or do you want to just be comfortable around food, realizing you're a human being, and every now and then you're going to gain a few pounds, whether it be around the holidays or this or that? So I think what it is people need to recognize that many people, and not only overweight, but there are many people who are underweight, struggling with weight. And if you are struggling with weight and it's constantly interfering with your thought processes or you're worrying about it, it creates extra stress, I believe. And stress, long term, can do a lot of damage and can lead to chronic illness.
Okay. And so what about nutritional supplements, things like that, or medications? Are you advising medications like phentermine or?
No, I would not, personally. Because I just think that's a crutch, and maybe in a very isolated instance, phentermine might be okay, but I personally don't feel comfortable prescribing drugs. I think you have to get to the root of the problem, which is managing your diet, managing movement that's doable for you, and changing your lifestyle a little at a time. Most of the patients I see, especially in men's health, I mean, they're 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight. They did not get there overnight. It takes a while to get them back on track. So some might be ready for the big steps to take everything away. In my experience, I have not found that to be the case with most patients. They want little baby steps. They love their food. They love their peanut butter. And they love their certain drinks. So I think just making little inroads with them and tell them it's okay. What I do is I make a list for patients. Oh, I'm sorry, I have them make a list, but I recommend that they make 3 lists, actually. One is their foods that they love and they're not quite ready to give up yet.
Okay.
Okay, one is maybe I could give that up because I know it's not that good for me. And then another list of, I wouldn't miss that very much, and I know it's not good for me, but I still take it. And then we start with the drinks first, which I think is easier. And there's a lot of success around removing the drinks.
Okay.
And they cut off half their calories sometimes by adding more water to their diet. I believe a lot of people are walking around in a dehydrated state. They simply don't drink half their body weight in ounces every day of pure water. And
But do you think as humans, 100 years ago, we were drinking that much more water? As George Carlin used to say, why is everybody so thirsty now? Everybody's walking around with their water. Everybody. So, we used to drink a lot of water as humans, and now we don't.
That's a good
Seems like
point.
we're drinking more than ever.
That is a good point. I think maybe just to detoxify a bit for overweight patients, since they have so many toxins that are stored in their fat cells, they need the extra water a bit. The average person who is of ideal weight probably can get away with it, unless they're doing extra marathons.
So are you low carb, or is it calorie restriction? What is it?
I don't think one size fits all. Carbs may be a trigger for some people. I personally have survived on carbs, and I can still maintain my weight. And I don't have a high blood sugar. I don't have high blood pressure. I've been able to keep my weight for the most part, most of my life, since I've stopped playing hockey, with a couple of rare occasions where I've gone up a little bit, for the most part on a high carbohydrate diet, potatoes and bagels and so forth. Do I recommend it for everybody? No. It worked for me. It worked for me, and at least as I'm checking my parameters, I don't have any major.
So Brad, you're not worried about gluten or anything like that for your patients?
There are some people that are gluten sensitive, and I don't think everybody's allergic to gluten. But also the gluten that we had years ago is not the same gluten as we have today, because wheat has been refined in different ways and overused, I believe. So I think each person has to get allergy testing, or at least identify what it is for them that could be causing them to feel ill and or resistant to maintaining their weight.
Okay.
And everybody has different goals. Some people are okay at being 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight. And that's okay. If their blood pressure remains pretty decent, if their blood sugars are not sky high, then that's probably okay for them. I think ultimately my message would be, can we move people a little bit from the unhealthy portion of the continuum? If there's death, let's say, the worst part of health on one end of the continuum, and then optimal health on the other end, can we move people a little closer to the optimal end? And what optimal means is very individual.
And okay. So final message, somebody watching this, they're stuck. Maybe they can't lose weight the way they used to. They've tried everything. Or maybe they think they've tried everything.
Right.
What's your message to them?
My message is, I would love to be given the opportunity to holistically try to resolve what it is that they're missing, because they are either not aware enough of how they're eating and or how they're moving, and or the connection with why that would make them feel so much better if they were somehow able to connect, whether it be socially, physically, spiritually, psychologically, and that's the work I think that has to be done.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Great info. Great info.
Thank you.
You've been watching The Wellness Hour. We'll be right back.